ordinary crystals from whenever it was that you came in. It is held within the sphere, and when you go and you touch the sphere with the intent of calling home your core seed memory imprint from here, you will receive a crystal form. You will take that with you in your Archeologically body. You can take that with your Archeologically body. Once we get to that point, we're going to be asked to move down further into a particular gate, which is the gate that was used between Earth, which we talked about briefly in the invitation, and Earth. That in the core of Earth and Eartha, there is a gate link called Shala 13. From Shala 13, on the Eartha side, you can pass stone up if you were incarnating as a person individually or as a race into this place that we call Earth. This particular place is in what is called an aquifer. It is, and our science here would call it the liquid core level. You have the solid core, then the liquid core. And the very core is the aquifers. They are the deep silica aquifers that would be the mantle levels above it when you're going down to the Earth. So we're going to transmit some of the frequencies. We will transmit a copy of those frequencies into another crystal that is the first core crystal of the Aquafereion That process will activate that other crystal will actually expand and move out and become a sphere that is a portal. We won't be going through that portal right now, but we will be able to see into it as if you were looking into a very large one of those snow globes that you shake up and there's things happening inside. It's kind of that effect. And inside of that you will see there's a whole reality field. This particular place has a name. It is called a crystal city. They are referred to the crystal cities because they are made of various types of silica. It is connected to what is called the Aurora side. The Aurora, we are in the Aurora universal matrix, and you could say in easy terms, it's our twin side, our twin is the Aurora side of the same matrix. The Aurora side has reality systems just like the Aurora side does, and reality systems here on the Aurora side, like Earth, have a corresponding place and reality field in the Aurora side. When we open this crystal or transmit our signature codes as a collective of Aquari humans, it will allow for the opening of the Ecousha crystal and the opening of the gate between the Aurora side and the Aurora side of what here is Earth and what there is another stellar body. But there are crystal cities all the way up going into the atmosphere, both on the Aurora side, and there are ones on our side as well. We have crystal cities, we have cloud cities. We'll learn about these more. But the important thing that we are doing now is we're beginning a process that will allow for rapid expedited activation of the aqualine sun fields that we talked about briefly in the orientation. So the purpose of coming to Caral for this group has been to participate in this particular opening, because you personally will get back an encryption. The dust that you will get from the aquamarine crystal is dust that holds in a radiation encryption that belongs to you when you first entered incarnation through Eartha into this reality system. So it is the beginning of accessing your own core cellular memory. And from that, it will allow you to access there are other layers of these crystals. In fact, there are 4 layers. Each one goes with a domain level of the bodies that we've talked about, the core, the inner, the middle, and the outer bodies. And they're all part of the Rachelet body activation that is known as the Krystal activation. So there's a lot of technicals that have to do with this. But in terms of what we need to do here, it's not give a technical workshop. It is simply enjoy the beauty of this site. Realize this site is very, very old. Before the temples or the pyramids that they have found here, there are many things that took place in these sites as well. We've gotten a little bit of insight from our beloveds on the pyramids that are here and ones that they have said have not been discovered yet. It was funny, I was walking, Az and I were walking, and we're online with the Aquafereion, and they said they haven't found the big one yet. And I said, really? I said, well, where is it? Just give us the hint. And they said, well, it's over in that direction, but it's very, very deep, and it's under a layer of bedrock. They're not seeing it because their radar won't penetrate. And really, they said that it had something to do with an earthquake that took place that created a slide in a part of the plates. And the temple, most of it got crushed, but a part of it, because it got wedged under a tilt in the plate, is still actually intact. And at some point, it may be discovered. They didn't say whether it will be or not, but they did say it was there. They said this particular temple wasn't the first one that was ever built. It wasn't ones from the Aquafereion NavAHo races, because they were seeded here in 12,500 BC, so that was much earlier than this particular one. This particular one did, however, have to do with the Aquafereion 3 races, which were the humans from this period, from this seeding, combining with the Aquari races from Eartha, and they were seeded in 11,000. But this particular pyramid had to do with a group of them that were here on this site because of its sacred significance to these crystals that we have talked about and these gateways we've talked about. It was constructed in 4,200 BC, and they said it was whatever quake and plate slide that it experienced that was the end of the large temple, or that had it wedged under a piece of shelf that has not been dug under at this point, was around 2,300 BC. So there is still a potential one that can be found that is physical evidence that they have identified as directly pertaining to the Aquari human races that we've talked about that were seated here. This is a sacred site to the Aquari races, particularly because this was their core seating site, where they passed through first from Eartha through into Shala 13 core gate that is inside of the solid core of Earth and out into the earth field. So this is literally the seeding site. This is the cradle of the Aquari human civilization. And the races that have come from there, some people around here, there's a very strong Inca presence. We've talked in other workshops about, the Inca people, because they were connected with the angelic human and the cloister races. That's in the Voyagers books. But this particular group, the Aquari human, were not directly genetically linked with the Inca people. What was interesting about what the guides were saying was the people here were not considered Inca either, and they don't really know what they were, as far as haven't really categorized them. They were just different. They didn't do the Inca thing, as I could tell by some of their, I guess, Inca tradition. But so even the later temples, these I think they were placing around 3,000 BC, weren't they? That was 5,000 years ago. 3,000 BC. Right. Okay. So the one that they were talking about, that our beloveds were talking about, that met its physical end in around 2,300 BC, that would have been still standing when these were actually being built. So these civilizations were connected to them. What they have said about these particular pyramids is they weren't ours directly, because what you had at that point in time you had some Aquafereion NavAHo races that carried the codes for both the Atori side and the Adore side, that were the original prototype races of this bioregenesis race that were seated in 12,500. They stayed, and they were kind of like, they were a priest caste, not in an elitist way, but they had more dealings with the Earth people than they did with the Earth people. But they were here to protect and to guide and to teach and help acclimate the new ones that had come in, that were just Aquafereion human and Aquari that had come in. So there were castes of what would be considered priest castes that spent most of their times in the big temples, and the big temples were the ones that held the gate access keys. This particular one held something that they called the Well of Creation, because it was actually an open conduit that hole down into the ground that led down, way down into the aquifers. It has long since been sealed. It was sealed on purpose for certain reasons of protecting the gates from being invaded. But the particular Aquafereion NavAHo races, that they were the guardians of this particular well of creation, and they didn't live in the temples nor in pyramids like this. They didn't live on surface. They lived in the subterranean cities that are associated with what's called the Aurora 1 platform. The city the main city banks that are there, and they're still there. They're still inhabited by Aquafereion races, and they have been under security screens where you can't find them no matter how far you dig, because they're on a bit different angular rotation of particle spin. And if they invite you there, you can actually come, because they will teach you how to use your Rochelet body in a way that you can make that shift in angular rotation of particle spin, at which time you would experience them as physical, and they would experience you as physical as well. Right now we're not going to do that, but we are going to go down into the level where the subterranean cities exist, and this is where we need to pick up the Ecousha seed codes, our memory crystals of Caral. And later, I believe, possibly tonight in the workshop, but it's probably, people are going to probably be quite tired by then, because it's going to be late by the time we get back, and everybody eats, and then we do workshop. But at some point, we are going to do a visitation down through this area that you will see in the aquifers, that after we pass through the subterranean cities and kind of say hi on the way and keep going down into the waters, into the aquifers, into the liquids, to where we see this effect of a spherical portal doorway opening up. And there is a city, a crystal city on the other side of that. It appears to be under an ocean, but it is really liquid silica. That it is part of the core aquifers, the liquid part of the core of the Aurora side, or the twin, let's say, a twin to Earth, one of the many twins to our planet that connects directly through the gates. We will be traveling through there in a particular journey once we understand the structure of the Rochelet body a little bit better, because some people don't know what that is at all, and you do need to understand a bit of what you're doing when you're working with this. But we will get to go far enough to see where it is. Once we get that far, and this opening occurs when it goes from being what appears to be, this one is an amethyst crystal that's deeper underneath in the aquifers, and up above that we had the aquamarine crystal that was in the subterranean cities. But when the aquifer crystal opens and goes into the phase where it looks like the snow globe effect, that means we have successfully opened the gate link. And then there is another point. There is a receiving pillar that is funny, because the first place I saw the pillar sticking up out of the earth, and it was over there, and like we were walking right toward it. There's the stone boundary. We're not allowed to go past that, right? You're not allowed to walk past where the stone boundaries are. Gotta get over there. So we finally got permission just to walk up to the little ridge so we could see what was over there. And it was really hilarious. I saw exactly where the pillar was coming out. It's the road we came in on. It's right by it sits across. It's big. It sits across. It spans the road we came in on. So we can, because that's not part of the site they're worrying about it getting stepped on because it hasn't been excavated yet. We can, on the way back out, stop there briefly. We don't really even have to get off the buses, but there will be a simple, it's just a simple breathing and code run to allow the activated codes, because you will get certain activations when you get down into the aquifer levels that will amplify the codes that you picked up, that you transferred. And then there's a receiving site that the rest of those codes need to be brought into. So people who want to participate in the exercise, when we're going to ask the buses to stop just for a little bit, and because of the time frame, we're not going to ask for them to let everybody get out and sit on the side of the road, which we could do, but it will take twice as long to get stuff back there if we do that. So we will be doing the finishing of this. We're going to leave our Rochelet bodies down there once we get down there until we get back on the buses with our physical bodies, get over there, stop briefly. You're going to release the codes down and bring your Rochelet body back up. All right. So I probably won't be talking to you once we're on the buses, because I don't think these things have that far of a range or whatever. I don't know if that will work. But when we get there and the buses stop, it will be time to simply just breathe downward, right? And which releases the codes, in your own DNA, your own spiritual codes. Let's simply put it that way. And you then bring back up your Rochelet body with yourself that you left down there when you did the journey this time. And again, if you don't want to participate, you don't have to. You can sit in the circle with us and do part of it, not all of it, whatever you're comfortable with. If you don't want to sit in the circle, you don't have to do that either. So it's completely up to you and what your comfort zone is. Sorry, but I think we need to get over there and start going. We're going to, I think, will you read the thingy, and then anybody who knows it or has it with them can read it with you? Okay. So we'll do the Crystal River Prayer and Invocation first. protection you can get, as far as any techniques that can be used to make sure you're safe when you're running energy work. And we'll go into the live journey, which I'll need the headset back for to do that. But if you're going to run this,
1, 2, 3. Okay, go on, bring. Bring forth now. Continue. Three breaths. Okay, part 2, in the name. In the name of the councils of Christianity. We call upon the Christian powers to Aurora. We call upon the Christian powers to Aurora. We call upon the Christian powers to Aquafereion. We call upon the Christian powers to Aquafereion Krystal Heart. We call upon the Christian powers to Ecousha. We now command with the entrusted powers of Aurora light. We now invoke the eternal Christ Son to co-create, release, and renew this place. sanctification, this place, this land, and all within, into the Christian protection here and set. That the spirit of Earth Salah rise, the power of Earth Salah heal, and the wisdom of Earth Salah here within preside. In the name of the eternal Christ of Earth's creation, and by the divine vehicle of the Aquafereion Krystal Heart. Cultivating the Christian race with absolute humility, absolute love, and absolute forgiving, and holy and absolute service to the eternal Christ and its ever-loving healing devotion to all life everywhere. We banish now from the sacred place all that is unwilling to receive the absolute cleansing of the Krystal Heart within the covenants of the black rat order or the divine raceline, as only to the gospel and the law.
Let us bring a special prayer to the guardians from this place and out this place, who have taken such good care in preserving the ancient ruins and finding them now when the time is right to do so. We offer to them a prayer of protection in the NavAHo Krystal, and invite them to participate, be they seen or unseen, in the massive Ascension mission that is taking place on this planet at this time. They are welcomed in by the Aquafereion and the children of the Aquafereion, and we would like to extend that greeting to any of them on this site or who are connected to and with this site. Yeah, let's do Aurora first.
3 rounds of Aurora, okay?
Thankfully, because sometimes when we go on journeys in the 12 tribes classes, we return about an hour and a half later. Right. What? Yes, we'd be quite sun-dried, like they dry fruit and tomatoes, sun-dried as rights. All right. I just have to review the scribbly notes that they gave me as far as we're going where first and when and what we're doing there. All right. Yep, down there. Yep. Right. Okay, we need to sit in the circle, not in the center for this part. We can leave the crystal in the center, though. Yeah, triangulation would be good. Yeah. We're going to come join you in the circle because there's going to be a large crystal sphere, aquamarine sphere, in the center when we get down into projection. And its field will radiate up, literally not just to the surface, but all the way up through the atmosphere and up to Eartha. So we're getting out of the line of crystal fire. She's there. All right, I'll go over here. Yeah, somewhere over there. Do a triangulation someplace over here. 1 point, 2 point. This will work. Okay, thank you. There we go. We got David there on the other one too. That's good. David. I know, I'm still wired in. Okay. Excuse me, I gotta go on mute so I can cough without blowing your eardrums out. I tend to cough a lot in deserty type environments. The sand gets me until I get used to it, and I'm not used to it still, and we live in Arizona. Only since February full on. Okay, now. At first, just sit comfortably and try to focus on the rhythm of your breathing a little bit. Slip my wrist with a paper cut. Jeez. All right. And when you get a feel for it, when you can hear the rate of your breathing, try to consciously slow it by about half. Just gentle, easy breathing, slower breathing. You go into a more relaxed state. What we are going to do in a few moments, please, we are going to try to do synchronized movement. Each one of us has a body that is referred to as the Rochelet body. With Rochelet body activations that are taking place in the Indigo Shield now, even if you haven't had Rochelet body training yet, you can still, while participating with a group who some of the members do have Rochelet body training, you can still participate with them and go on what are called Rochelet journeys. A Rachelet journey is literally a part of your consciousness that you choose to send into other locations by using the vehicle of a part of your light body that is known as the Rachelet body. It would look like a replica of your own body as you have it. You can actually change your Rachelet body to look like anything you want it. You can shapeshift it or turn it into a spark of light. But for now, we do use the image of what you know yourself to be right now, because it will assist yourself in the part of your consciousness that stays in body. It will assist you to make the link between the experiences you will have in Rachelet and the experiences that your physical body is registering as real. So we do ask you that in this Rachelet projection, just imagine you have a sphere of light. It's much more intricate than just a sphere, but a large sphere of light surrounding your body. There are actually 15 layers of spheres within spheres of the Rachelet body. But imagine you are sitting within it in your physical body, and that particular part of your field, called the Rachelet body, when we begin to journey together, is going to go downward, moving down through the Earth's crust and down further into the Earth's mantle. We're going to go as a group, so it'll be as if your Rachelet body is taking an image of you, like an image of what you are and who you are, part of your own consciousness in your own image. It's a form of bilocation when we do it this way. It's called projection. We're going to project that image down with our Rachelet body as a group collective. We'll find ourselves at the first stop in this group projection. It is as if there is a circle, the circle that we are as a group here, as if it forms a shield, that you don't see the shield, but we're just sitting around the perimeters of the circle of the shield, and the whole shield will descend down. It's going to descend down to the place in the middle mantle of Earth where the aquamarine crystal is. The aquamarine crystal, again, is the core Ecousha crystal for the Aquafereion races that were seeded in 11,500 BC. And all of us would have, as Aquari humans, would have a portion of our own personal encryption in there when we first passed into the incarnations in the Earth cycle through that race line to end up with the codes that are the Aquari codes now that we carry. If you didn't have Aquari codes, you wouldn't have ended up on this workshop. So even if you don't, not too sure about who we are, what our teachings are, you're still a part of a family that's known as Aquari, and you will be able to receive your Caral memory crystals. They're memory crystals that are connected directly to this site that is called Caral here, because this is the site where the Aquafereion race was first seeded in, where it came in from Eartha through Shala 13 and up through the subterranean cities to here, up through here into the subterranean cities, and from the subterranean cities came up into surface life on Earth. So it is a very sacred site. It is the cradle of civilization for this site is the cradle of civilization for the Aquafereion races. There are also a few other cradles that after they were brought here, they were scattered in various other places. So there are more than one colony, but this was the place where the first ones came and the first colonies were set, from which the others connected. The others that we will learn something about who have to do with Machu Picchu, they also have to do with certain areas in the United States, in Arizona and in Colorado, because there are networks of gate links that connect these sites through the subterranean cities and through other places known as the cloud cities. So just because something appears to be far away from another thing on surface Earth, that was not always a problem for the ancients, because the ancients knew how to use gate systems, and the gate systems were still functioning in those times. We are bringing the gate systems back into function in these times, and this is the first part in activation of the Caral site that is the cradle of civilization for the Aquafereion shield. So we are going to begin this journey simply as imagining ourselves in our Rachelet body spheres, large sphere around you. And as a group, we're going to start to descend, and just as if a carbon copy, three-dimensional carbon copy of your physical body goes down, well, your physical body stays here, and it goes down in sphere, or in orb, as it's often called, here in your orb or sphere, Rachelet body, and you're moving downward into the Earth. We'll try to do this together, and I will watch with the inner eyes when the shield stabilizes and begins to reach the location where we need to do our first stop. And it is at that point that we will ask you to, in your Rachelet body, down there, and also here to reach your arms out, to extend your arms out. You'll be doing this, putting palms on. What down there will be literally putting your palms on a massive, it would be the size of the circle. The circle would be right around the outside of it, and you could touch it with your arms extended. So you would be touching down there this beautiful aquamarine crystal. But up here, it will also anchor into the physical body here, because that crystal will, once it is called, and we are calling it into activation by interacting with it, it will send its field up into the down into the earth, and also up into the earth. So we will also pick up part of the codes with our palms here. So it's important to, when we hit the stage where it's time to, put your palms on the the aquamarine crystal down in the earth's mantle, to also put your physical arms out and your hands up, so you can get the part that will be carried in the air, carried on the molecules of the air, and let it brush past. And remember, this is like crystal dust of aquamarine color, pale aquamarine blue, that will just stick to the outside of the hands. It's not something that you take into your body or anything like that. It will hold, it holds your memory encryption. Just the dust on the palms, and you will leave the dust later. We will leave the dust. The dust is just meant to stimulate by giving you back on the outside the radiation signature that belongs to you in the first place. You have a part of your own crystal body structure that holds, and Rochelle body structure that holds that exact same encryption. So the dust is simply meant to stimulate that in your own self. So you're not taking anything into yourself. You are simply touching something that will create a vibration that you have, a co-resonant harmonic vibration existing dormant within you, and that will start to vibrate on its own because it is a part of you. So you're not taking in anything foreign to yourself from this crystal, just so you know. And there will be a point when we deposit back the dust, when we go down to the amethyst crystal in the aquifers, and that will cause the opening of the snowball effect, or the snow sphere. That is the opening of it is the first opening that is necessary for the expedition of the alkaline sun activations on this planet in order to secure the Ascension Passage, the Aquafereion Host Ascension Passage. We'll get more into the technicals on what that is when we get back into workshop time tonight at the hotel, because you need diagrams to show it. So what we'll do is simply, as a group, on a mental 3, simply inhale, hold for 3, and then exhale. And as you exhale, begin to push down with the Rochelle sphere and begin to descend. And let's stop the descent. Inhale, hold for a second, and then push down again with the exhale. And one more of these. Inhale, hold, exhale. Now you can just breathe individually and naturally, and we'll synchronize the movement of the shield sufficiently. Just imagine and try to feel the sense of you, your replica body, and your Rochelle, or your Rochelle body collectively, moving downward through the Earth's crust. Imagine the feeling as your eyebrows are passing the sand level that your bottom is sitting on right now. Imagine you're moving down further and further, but you're moving through rock as if you were a ghost moving through a wall with no resistance, no problem. We have a little bit of a descent to go before we get to the middle mantle point. And the first indication will be almost, there's a sense, if you can feel the sense of this group shield moving downward. Some people will be able to feel that sense of, like, below you. You can actually feel that you're connected to something that is like a disc moving down. There will be a bit of resistance before too long, just a little bit of a bumped into an energy field, and it kind of bounced up a little and then continued on through the energy field. That energy field is the field being generated by the aquamarine crystal. So very soon we will hit the little bump and kind of like up bump and then continue descent. There we go. Ooh, my whole body felt that one now. And that didn't hurt, but it was kind of a surprise. Okay, we're moving into the aura field, the field surrounding the aquamarine crystal now. And if you can try to see through the eyes of your Rochelle body and try to imagine, it's a bit dark and murky down there when you first start to get used to using your Rochelle vision. But what you will first notice is the lovely aquamarine glow. And as the shield settles, because you're actually coming down over the aquamarine crystal, and it will end up being in the center of our shield. We're beginning the descent down over the crystal at this point. And very soon, when we get to where our sitting platform or our shield is aligned with the bottom of the crystal, we will stop the descent temporarily of the Rochelet. All right. Oh, it wobbled. We have a little bit of wobble on the shield as it's settling. All right, the shield is stopped now. So your Rochelet bodies are down here. Try to, especially if you haven't done Rochelet projectum before, try to get a feel for that part of you. It's easy to lose track when you're just starting, and you end up somewhere stuck between the outer crust and the middle mantle, and lost track of yourself and can't feel it anymore. You have made it down because of the support of the group shield. So where there's a number of people who have done Rochelet journeys before and have those fields activated in their Rochelet, so that gives you support. You are all down there. I'm checking to make sure there's no drifters, people still hanging someplace up in between and haven't settled, but everybody's down. Everybody came down together. That's good. That's really good for having, people that have, some people who are new to the work. That's very good. All right, now, since we are all in Rochelet, down in the middle mantle of Earth, this is an area, this particular crystal exists within the subterranean cities in the Aurora 1 platform. The subterranean city, if I can remember its name, is referred to as Aruniwa. So this crystal is a physical crystal that is located in the Aurora 1 platform subterranean city of Aruniwa. And it's actually in a large courtyard in their underground cities, when we'll get to explore them at a different time. But we're just passing through to pick up the codes here. In Aruniwa, this was a place where the Aquafereion, particularly the Aquafereion NavAHo from 12,500 BC, they primarily lived here, and they came to the surface when it was important to do certain things, and they went back down into Aruniwa and resided there. They didn't build temples on the surface then. Their groups didn't. Later, when the straight Aquafereion groups came, they did build temples on the surface, or home situations, temple cities on the surface. But the Aruniwa is a place that we have passed through before we of Aquafereion human descent, because we spent time there before. We would acclimate there before we went all the way to Earth's surface because of the radiation differences, and Aruniwa would have a closer radiation signature to that of Eartha than as you come out to the surface areas here. So it was an acclimatization zone where we would acclimate biologically to that area first before coming here. It may be a place that when physical invitations for sliders began, that some of us will be taken there, offered to be taken there if you're invited in, to visit some of the other places that do exist. It would be a place that is most compatible with our bodies as they exist right now. And the cloud cities would be next as far as what would be compatible with our bodies. So right now we are actually sitting in a courtyard, and we are being seen by the people who live in Aruniwa. And they were expecting us. They know we were coming, and they know that we are here to simply pick up the Caral memory crystals from the Ecousha crystal. And this large aquamarine crystal is the Ecousha core seed crystal of the Aquafereion human shield. Now let us extend out. We're down there in Rochelet state. Extend out your Rochelet body arms. And at arm's length, each one of you will be able to touch the surface of the aquamarine crystal. You may feel a bit of fuzziness in your physical palms while you do this. You may or may not. Don't worry if you don't. Let's try to feel it for a moment. The crystal itself is a conscious identity in and of itself that is directly connected to all of the incarnates of the Aquafereion shield. What it is doing right now is sensing. So we are allowing it to sense who we are, what our encryption is, so it can find within itself the encryption that actually matches ours. Okay. There's a point coming inside. If any of you can see this, some people will be able to see with their inner vision what your Rochelet body is seeing with this large aquamarine crystal. And in the center of it now, it looks like something with light is starting to happen. There's a light starting to spin. It looks like a spinning light in the center. It's located and registered the signatures of everyone who agreed to participate in this and wanted to participate. And it's getting ready to simply broadcast a little burst of frequency. The little burst of frequency will cause a film to form really quickly on the outside of the aquamarine sphere, and that film will very rapidly turn to dust, a beautiful crystalline aquamarine crystal dust. And that dust will simply stick temporarily to the outside of the palms. And that's going to happen any minute now, any second actually. Okay, 1, 2, right. When I say now is when that burst is going to be released and the dust goes to dust. That's when you need to just inhale just a little bit. So you pull the dust to the palms so it sticks on the outside of your palms. All right, and it's going to be any second. Okay, now simply inhale. And just keep your palms there just for a little bit to make sure you get all of the dust that goes with your encryption. Okay. All right, and the crystal just flashed, which means everyone's got the amount that belongs to them. Everybody's got their encryption. Sorry again. I have to learn how to turn that off. Okay. Now, even though Araniwa is a lovely place to explore and visit, it is fascinating. It is a fascinating biome, and it is a physical biome. It is beyond protection screens and at a different angular rotation of particle spin, but it's right there underneath us as we walk on the surface of the Earth. There will be other times to visit and explore here. Some of the Quevantilia races, by the way, the ones that are known as the Yetis that come up on surface sometimes, there are large colonies of them that reside here as well, and they're very fond of particularly Aquarian humans, because Aquarian humans have been very nice to them. Now, we are going to move on, though, because we have a mission today, and the mission is to activate the core Ecousha crystal of the Aquafereion NavAHo raceline that was seeded earlier, the prototype race, Aquarion human race, that was seeded in 12,500 BC. These were descendants of the Seeding 2 and Seeding 1 Aquafereion races, and they carried within them the codes that led to specific chambers of direct access between Earth and Eartha that the Seeding 3 Aquafereion lineage was not given because of the danger to Eartha being raided from the surface if the Aquafereion humans had been taken over or attacked. They could have been used to raid the Eartha gates. So the Seeding 3 Aquafereions weren't given the codes to the Adore side that would allow for the opening of a direct passage called the Aquafereion NavAHo Passage. We're going to assist in the opening of the NavAHo Passage now, and this allows a much more rapid access through the Aurora platforms into the Eartha Adashi temples. So it will allow for expedition of the Ascension mission, which is necessary at this point because of what the Fallen Angelic Agenda people are doing with the planetary grids. As usual, they are trying to override and block the activations of the Ascension Passage Ascension tube, and this will ensure a more rapid activation of the Aquiline Sun. Rachelet body activations of Earth will ensure that they cannot do that. So it's another expedited activation. We weren't planning to have to do this when we came to Caral. We were simply going to pick up our personal memory crystals. But we're being asked for those who want to use them. If you have picked them up, you can take those crystals now and participate in the next part of the descent journey down into the liquid silica aquifers that exist below the mantles of Earth. They are considered by science the liquid core of the Earth, the liquid outer core. And we are going to move down as a group shield again, simply with 3 breaths to harmonize the descent movement. Let's do those now. Inhale. Hold and exhale. Down. Inhale. And exhale. Down. And inhale. And exhale. Down. Our shield is moving downward now. Our Rachelet shield is moving downward into the aquifers. And very soon we will again come upon a crystal, but this time the crystal is in a pinky violet color. It's a form of amethyst, but it is much more pinky and vibrant violet than the amethyst that you see on Earth. we're going to approach that, and again there'll be just a little bit, much less of a bounce back feel when the shield comes down over it. All right, we're entering that now, and there was hardly any kickback at all. All right, this crystal is much smaller. It wouldn't take up the whole area yet between, in the circle that we are sitting in. We are in a much larger circle with a small crystal at the center that is the pinky violet Ecousha seed core crystal of the Aquafereion NavAHo. What we're going to do is transmit a copy. We'll keep the originals. We're allowed to keep the originals, and then we'll just transmute them and release them. But we're going to transmit a copy of the dust codes on our palm, the aquamarine dust codes that are our Caral memory crystal codes. We're going to transmit this toward the center, and do this physically with your physical hands as well. Put your palms out with thumbs together, and imagine you are moving a particle beam of fine blue dust particles toward the center area of the shield. And just simply begin to breathe. Inhale and use the exhale to push outward, sending out the streams of blue crystal. In the raceline state, these crystal codes are going to and sticking to the outside of the pink violet sphere. That is good. There's a sound pitch that has now emanated from the sphere, the violet sphere, and that means it has received the sufficient coding that it required. And in a moment, it is actually going to do a pop and expansion, and it will expand again to be the size of the circle that is in the middle of our circle and our shield here. And when it does, it will no longer appear as violet. It will appear as if it were a crystal globe that we're still sitting on the outside of, because we're on the earth side. And we'd be able to see in, as if looking into a huge crystal ball. You can see there's a whole other world and reality field in there. And you're looking into this world through a place that, at first what you see, it appears to be ripply, as if it's underwater, but there's some kind of light, that it's like radiant light water, where it has colors of aquamarine and colors of violet, and also colors of that more greeny aquafereion type, turquoisey, blue-green. And there'll be rippling colors of liquid light that are running through this sphere. And it's almost like close your raceline eyes on your physical ones and squeeze them tight and look real hard with your third eye vision. And you can make out the shapes of what appear to be, in this watery light substance, buildings of different shapes and sizes. There are domed buildings with what appear to be towers. There are structures that look like they could be natural, perhaps underwater cliffs, that if you look, squint a bit more closely, you can actually see that there are what appear to be doorways and windows in them. This is a place that is on the Aurora side, or the twin matrix to our Aurora matrix, and the name of this place is Aru Nepet, and it is the corresponding point to the Aruniwa subterranean cities of Earth. This is going to happen in a moment. It hasn't popped yet. It's actually assimilating the codes in the right sequence, in the right order that we have given it. They're just saying it will pop any second now. They said if we have more time, what they would have us do is all lay back, and spend a bit of time actually experiencing, moving our consciousness into and seeing a bit around inside of the sphere. But that will take too long to do that. So we won't do that here and now, but we can do that another time before we leave on the Peru trip. So what we're simply going to do at this point, all right, they're asking us to put our hands just on the ground, like in front of you. Just 2 palms down. And just breathe normally. And the pop is going to come as that little crystal turns into a large, spherical, clear crystal gateway portal. And it's going now. Alright. It goes in about 3 waves. There'll be 3 waves that kind of like that come up, and you can actually feel them a bit. Some people will be able to feel them with their palms coming up from the earth. If you happen to be a person who did feel a little bit of a come upward, when I said it's popping now, that implies certain codes that go with the Adore side. It implies an Aquafereion NavAHo alignment in your own DNA, as well as the standard Aquafereion human alignment. If you felt that, simply inhale and push back down and send a recognition back to that. That was a lot of breaths. We got a lot of NavAHos here. Nice. Okay, now we can bring our palms up. And we have done the first level of the activation. The next thing we need to do is we need to go to the other site that is on the way out. And we can do it literally from the buses. We don't even have to get off the buses. We've made the connection with the land and the sand and the land and the physicality. We're going to leave our Rachelet bodies temporarily down there. What we can do is imagine that they're laying back around the large sphere. The thing that we would do here physically if we had time to join our Rachelet body with this, just kind of laying back and watching the sphere. And we're going to start to see things inside of it that will show us some things about the Adore side and our connection to it. Our Rachelet bodies can go through that experience while we get our bodies together so they can get on the buses and those kind of things. What we will do when we get to the point where we ask the buses to stop on the road out, there's a large pillar there. It's a receiving pillar. It takes a little bit of time for the codes that we just picked up for our own memory crystals to activate in our bodies because they were stimulated by the palm dust. We are going to release the palm dust into that pillar when we stop the buses. So remember, you still have a bit of dust on the palms. Some of it stuck to the crystal, but you still have some. You don't need that. It was just there to stimulate the awakening of your own codes that you carry in your own DNA. So we will, when we stop the buses, you'll first just literally do it physically, with your hands, just release the palm dust. We'll do it in the area where there is this receiving pillar. It will go back down into the area of this large sphere as far as the dust goes, and it will just transmute and go back to its own natural particle dust, because it was just a medium to carry the vibration that you needed to activate your own codes. And what we'll do before the buses start is simply clean the palms, let the dust go, and inhale your Rachelet body back up. There will be experiences that your Rachelet body self experienced while you were getting ready to get on the bus. Your Rachelet body was shown other things and given clues to about perhaps your own incarnational history in relation to the Aquafereion races. And there will have been things shown to you in that large snowball sphere. So this is the beginning of the Aquafereion race is assisting you to get your memory back, because we have had our memory wiped out on this planet since 13,400 BC. That's why there were ancient technologies after that time that were devised by Christic races to hold the memories for us, because our bodies, our bioflesh, could not hold them anymore. So there were large storage things, memory crystals, that were set to hold things that we could not remember once we got into bodies here. We just received the core memory crystal, our own personal encryption. There will be more. There are 4 other primary crystals that we'll get. Also, planets have them, and stars. So we are also assisting the activation of these within the Earth body and within the Earth body. So we'll talk more about it when we get into the workshop tonight, where we'll start to play with the maps a little bit, and you'll get to see the mural map that I was telling you about. And we'll get to begin to journey a little bit with an exercise we'll do there. It's going to be an interesting trip, because there's going to be some really just fascinating things they're going to teach us on site. Like, we had no idea what we were going to do here today, just that we had was coming in, which is rare. Usually there's some kind of little battle going on over our heads where you got the Christic ones holding off the creeps who are getting upset because we're healing the grids out from under them. None of that. The grids were good here when we got here. The people who have been taking care of them have been doing a good job, actually, of taking care of them. So we had to ask if it was all right if we did, sat down and did the prayer. And so protocol was followed with it. We didn't know which way that would go when we came, so they didn't tell us what we were going to do here. Just show up and we'll let you know. So thank you for participating with this. We're going to, kind of meander back to bus time, and we'll talk about, we'll explain where we need to stop so the bus people know, so we'll get that message across. So when you find you're on the bus on the way out and the bus stop, that's the time to simply remember to let the dust go, any remaining dust off the palms, and to bring your Rochelet body back up. Now, if you forget to do that, if you happen to fall asleep between here and there because you're tired on the bus, you're not going to lose your Rochelet body. It will find you wherever you are, right? But the memory imprint will be easier for you to access if you can remember to bring it up there, because the memory will still be fresh from its experience, and you will bring it online with your own DNA. It may unfold later. When you're sleeping tonight, you may start to have releases in dream state, where you start to have dreams of other times and of being other places, people that were connected to these places. So it may start that way. But do try to bring your Rochelet body back with you now. It will come back to the hotel, but it won't be able to hold the memory imprint quite as strong for you if you don't remember to pick it up on the way out with the buses. All right, well, thank you, and that worked really well. The group worked really, really well and in very good harmony together. Thank you.